Cameroonian Education Board will fix the dysfunctional and completely broken system of education that La République has forced us to submit us to for all these years. We have put together a hard-working and highly talented team of professionals from home and abroad who are working day and night to design a new educational policy. We will ensure that the education policy we designed for our new country adheres to and even surpasses the Education for All initiative that was ratified in Dakar in the year 2000. These goals emphasize the rights of children to quality education. Our world-class educational policy targets general, technical, vocational, professional, non-formal, and special education. We are drawing upon the finest and the best models in the world and blending them with our local needs in mind so that the uniquely suited to our social, economic, and political context. Most importantly, we are making sure that the policy charts a pathway for our global engagement as individuals and as a nation. The end product will not be the educational system from any one country grafted upon us. It will be uniquely Southern Cameroonian. For example, from Finland, we are examining aspects like school attendance age, class size, and teacher-student ratio. From Singapore, we are integrating aspects of the revolutionary teacher preparation process that took Singapore from a third world nation to a world power. We know that teacher preparation and certification is arguably the most important factor that affects learning. And this process has to be completely reformed in our new nation. The reality now is that poor teacher training, lack of professional development, low pay, and other abuses have simply left our teachers on their own without any kind of support. These problems have led to lack of motivation and chronic absenteeism in the teaching profession, and students are directly affected. These abuses of the teaching corps further undermines an already weak educational system and contributes to the dismal academic outcomes of Southern Cameroonian students. Just last week, we learned of the publication of the political GCE results. Children were forced to take exams even though they had not attended classes. Seriously, this La République regime has simply gone from the ridiculous to the outright crazy. How do kids take exams when they didn't go to school? How do you justify testing something that you did not teach? Now, this is a clear indication that La République does not care about us, does not care about the children. They only care about the money we pay them in registration fees. If kids can be promoted without acquiring the academic skills that they are supposed to master in a given grade, why even bother to have schools? And you know why it doesn't matter to La République? Because they know that what happens in Southern Cameroon has never been about education. The systemic erosion of our educational values has always been about brainwashing our minds and maintaining our mental and physical slave status to them. That is why up until today, the BR regime has not made any significant improvements to our educational system, including teacher education. Teachers from English and French subsystems are supposed to operate as two separate entities for pedagogical, cultural, and historical reasons. Anglo-Saxon teachers have a culture of engaging in productive dialogues about new methods, such as the use of information and communication technologies, and how these methods can be used to support both themselves and their students. The La République system gives no room for dialogue. The Southern Cameroons Education Board is working on a teacher preparation and certification program that will produce excellent teachers. Our new teacher education program will give teachers the skills and dispositions they need to help students acquire the kind of quality education that will put Southern Cameroon on the map among developed nations. Look at smaller countries like Rwanda and Ghana. Schools are well equipped with computers and iPads to enhance student learning. We have the natural resources to build infrastructure and acquire 21st century technologies for our schools. We are going to build the human resource capacities. We have the expertise to do that. Beginning teachers will have mentors. They will also have startup funds in their early years in service to provide them with the necessary materials and supplies that they need to facilitate their work. The teaching profession will have a new ethos of nationalism. Teachers will have a greater responsibility towards nation building and work to instill a sense of pride and patriotism in our students. Nothing can be worse than not knowing who you are and therefore not taking pride in your heritage, which is what has happened to some of the people in the diaspora. They are lost. They don't know their heritage or pretend as if they had no heritage at all. Nothing is worse than being called fools, enemies in the house, Biafrans. Look at us in the diaspora. We have run away from the joblessness in our motherland to foreign lands that often do not even welcome us. Every day we break our backs. We work long hours. We work harder than anybody else. We sometimes do jobs that even they do not want to do. But every day we are reminded that this is not our country. And even when they give you their citizenship, they tell you every day to go back to your own country. But we Southern Cameroonians have no country to go back to. And unfortunately, many of us have decided that we do not care whether we have a country to go to or not. What are we then? Motherless children? Homeless vagabonds? With all the education we acquire in foreign lands, we cannot go and give back to our own communities? Why? Why should we be condemned to die in exile? Why should we continue to be strangers in somebody else's land? What crime did we commit to La République to deserve this? We have already designed a new academic calendar uniquely suited for Southern Cameroonians. This calendar is ready to go into effect as soon as the moment is right. The new academic calendar takes into consideration many factors regarding number of school days, contact hours in a year, and many things from early childhood, primary, secondary, and high school levels. We have also infused within our calendar national holidays that honor our heroes, traditions, and our values as people. For example, some of the holidays included in this new calendar are International Day of the Girl Child and Memorial Day for heroes who lost their lives for our struggle. For we will never forget those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom. We are determined that they will not have died in vain. In terms of levels of learning, the Southern Cameroon Education Board has designed and put in place a robust early childhood system. For research shows that the formative years from 3 to 7 can be the most important years in the child's life, as the brain is quickly developing and the foundations of most learning are established at these ages. It is important to note that our calendar makes room for closing the cognitive gaps that have been created by the school boycotts, and especially the achievement gaps brought about by the miseducation of our kids by La République teachers. We know that when schools resume, there will be a lot of catching up to do. We have taken all of these things into consideration. We have examined the need for and will put into place school zoning guidelines to make sure that school size and location of schools are guided by rigorous accreditation processes. This will check the random emergence of schools everywhere in Southern Cameroons. Schools that really do nothing but siphon money from vulnerable parents. The policy we are writing is holistic. It includes all levels and forms of education and also ensures that special populations are properly accommodated and given their rightful place in our nation. Children with special needs like dyslexia, autism, attention deficiency syndrome, the blind, the deaf, the lame can contribute to society too. These special populations do not have to be abandoned and left to die. They too have human rights, and those rights must be protected. If our policy is properly implemented in our restored nation, graduates from our schools will be able to find jobs in both government and private sectors. But most especially, they will be able to create new jobs. It is the creation of new jobs that sustains a booming economy. No child, no teacher, nor anybody for that matter will be left behind in a new Southern Cameroons. That is our promise to you, and that is a promise we intend to keep. For we have suffered too much at the hands of La République, and we should not suffer anymore in our new nation. And we will make sure of that. We are basing our reformation of the educational policy on the models of the 4 C's. Now, what are the 4 C's? The 4 C's are: 1, clear and bold vision. This refers to the goals, policies, frameworks, and standards that the Southern Cameroon Education Board is working at right now. Number 2, commitment to implementation. This is the most important but often the most challenging and sometimes neglected piece of policy design. We will make sure that the ambitious policies that we are designing do not end up in a drawer somewhere gathering dust. We are committed to implementation. Otherwise, all this hard work we are doing would be in vain. Number 3, coherence. Implementing the education policy must ensure pragmatic coherence between the intent and the practice. Otherwise, there will be no sustainability. We cannot go back to square one. Number 4, capacity. Capacity has to do with clear goals, especially the ambitious ones we are designing. For those goals call for high levels of skills in implementation and execution. The education policy will need to be carefully navigated by experts who are knowledgeable and who have the right skills and competencies to meet our goals. Now, this factor of capacity, the 4th C, is very important. We have existed in a system for more than 5 decades where nepotism and what is commonly known as man no man is what gets people jobs. We must discontinue that practice in a new dispensation. People must earn positions, not have it handed to them. Building capacity, therefore, is very important. We want to fit square pegs in square holes so that our new nation can experience success at all levels. We have worked a lot. We are still working hard, but there is still much work to do. For designing an education policy for the model country we are trying to create requires not just expertise, but it also requires thoroughness and thoughtfulness. And we are applying all of these ingredients, but we could use more experts. Now,
Audio Jungle.